get us started?
Yep.
The four of you are all ready to go?
Yes. Good to go. I'll mention it. Yeah.
How are you?
Good. You?
Gearing up for the race to the end of the year, right?
Yes.
It feels like September through December 31st is breakneck.
So that started, what, September 1st?
Kinda,
Kinda.
yeah.
Yeah.
Getting this out of the way is good.
This is like the playoffs for you, Patrick.
It's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a play.
It's a what?
A play.
A play. Yeah. And you completely forget vacation. That was. I'm not totally convinced I had one, but that's sort of the usual.
Are we ready, Pete?
Since Bernie keeps making the mistake of giving this to me, I'm going to use it. I'm hereby calling to order this September 21st special meeting of the Council of the City of Lancaster. We're going to dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance and go directly to calling the roll of members. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Arroyo.
Here.
Ms. Beke.
Here.
Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz. Mr. Garcia Molina. Mr. Soto. And President Smith-Waddell.
Here. All right, that brings us to our legislative agenda this evening. Ordinance for final passage. We have one, Administration Bill number 18, 2021. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. An ordinance authorizing the incurrence of non-electoral debt of the City of Lancaster by the issuance of general obligation notes, Series A of 2021, the 2021A notes, and the principal amount of, and federally taxable general obligation note, Series B of 2021, the 2021B note, and the principal amount of, for the purpose of financing, 1, the current refunding of the city's outstanding general obligation bonds, Series of 2011, the 2011 bonds. 2, the current refunding of the city's outstanding general obligation note, Series of 2015, the 2015 note. 3, the partial current and advance refundings of the city's outstanding general obligation bonds, Series of 2016, the 2016 bonds. The partial current and advance refundings of the city's outstanding general obligation bonds, Series of 2019, the 2019 bonds. And 5, paying issuance costs in connection with the 2021A notes and the 2021B note. Approving and authorizing the refunding and redemption of the bonds and note to be refunded, stating the purposes of the refundings, restating the remaining estimated useful lives of the capital projects financed and refinanced by the bonds and notes to be refunded, determining to sell the 2021A notes and the 2021B note at a private sale by invitation, approving the forms of the 2021A notes and the 2021B note, authorizing the purchase of bond insurance for the 2021A notes, making a covenant for the payment of the debt service of the 2021A notes and the 2021B note, pledging the full faith, credit, and taxing power of this city in support of such 2021A notes and the 2021B note, providing for the filing of required documents, providing for the appointment of paying agents and a sinking fund depositories for the 2021A notes and 2021B note, approving the filing of engineering reports with respect to self-liquidating debt, and authorizing execution, sale, and delivery thereof, and other necessary actions. The title, Mr. President.
Thank you very, thank you very much, Mr. Harris. I'll hear a motion, councilors.
Council President, Bond Council has provided each of us with a black line version of the ordinance authorizing and directing the issuance of the City of Lancaster General Obligation Notes, Series A of 2021, in an original principal amount equal to $35,225,000, which is the 2021 A notes, and the City of Lancaster Federally Taxable General Obligation Note, Series B of 2021, in original principal amount of $2,900,000. That's the 2021 B note. Such ordinance was introduced as Administrative Bill Number 18, 2021 before this council on July 13th, 2021. I hereby move to amend the ordinance labeled Administrative Bill Number 18, 2021 to include the additions, deletions, and other changes referenced on such black line version of the ordinance, which will be reworded with the minutes of this meeting and which can be summarized as follows. In the caption of the ordinance, inserting the amount $35,225,000 as the amount of the 2021 A notes and inserting the amount of $2,900,000 as the amount of the 2021 B note. In the eighth whereas clause, inserting the amount of $35,225,000 as the amount of the 2021 A notes and inserting the amount of $2,900,000 as the amount of the 2021 B note. In the ninth whereas clause, removing the extra third point. In the 11th whereas clause, removing reference to the 2019 reference to and 2019 bonds, inserting reference to Exhibit G and the schedule showing the refunded portion of the 2016 bonds to be refunded by the 2021 A notes. In the 12th whereas clause, inserting reference to Exhibit H as the schedule showing the refunded portions of the 2016 bonds and the 2019 bonds to be refunded by the 2021 B note. In the 13th whereas clause, inserting the aggregate amount of $38,125,000 as the total required debt to fund the 2021 A refunding project and the 2021 B refunding project. Inserting into the 14th whereas clause the name Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, as the 2021 A purchaser and the date of September 21st, 2021 as the date of the 2021 A purchaser's proposal for the purchase of the 2021 A notes. Inserting into the 15th whereas clause the name Citizens and Northern Bank as the 2021 B purchaser and the date of September 7th, 2021 as the date of the 2021 B purchaser's proposal for the purchase of the 2021 B note. In Section 1 of the ordinance, inserting the aggregate combined amount of $38,125,000 consisting of $35,225,000 as the amount of the indebtedness of the 2021 A notes and the amount of $2,900,000 as the amount of the indebtedness of the 2021 B note authorized by the ordinance. In Section 2B, removing reference to the 2019 bonds. In Section 2C, adding November 1st, 2021. In Section 11, inserting the dates November 1st, 2031 and May 1st, 2031 as applicable to the 2019 A notes subject to redemption prior to maturity. In Section 11 of the ordinance, removing the mandatory sinking fund provisions. In Section 17, replacing payoff date of 2015 note with October 21st, 2021. In Section 27 of the ordinance, inserting the date September 13th, 2021 as the date of the preliminary official statement. On Exhibit B, attaching the amortization schedule for the 2021 A notes. On Exhibit D, attaching the amortization schedule of the 2021 B note. On Exhibit E, adding the purchase proposal as the 2021 A notes. On Exhibit F, adding the purchase proposal to the 2021 B note. On Exhibit G, adding the schedule as to the refunded portion of the 2016 bonds to be refunded by the 2021 A notes. On Exhibit H, adding the schedule as refunded portions of the 2016 bonds and 2019 bonds to be refunded by the 2021 B note. My motion.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Bakay.
Thank you very much. So I think I've spoken quite enough right there. I'm going to turn it over to Patrick Hopkins, who can talk to us about what happened during the bond auction today and about our new numbers.
Okay, thanks very much, Councilor Bakay. Is this not on? The light is on, but it's not working. Can I try that one? Why does this happen? Okay, how about that? Okay. So thanks, Councilor Bakay, for making that motion. You all are familiar with this We have, I believe, one person in the audience maybe who's not familiar with this process. So I put together a brief presentation that Daryl and I will sort of tag team on. The very high level pieces of information I want to provide to you. One, throughout this process, part of it is getting our Moody's rating reviewed. And the good news there is that we had our A3 bond rating was reaffirmed by Moody's. That's a one-sentence description of about a month-long process that actually started with, well, it included getting our 2020 audit completed by September 10th. And I want to thank Vaughn and her team for making sure that we met that deadline. Then it also included a long series of questions and phone call and all that sort of stuff with Moody's. But the end result was good news. The other piece of, well, the other thanks I want to do is just for your agreeing to schedule this special meeting. The reason we wanted to have this special meeting really was so the very last date that we could possibly do this was September 28th. And we wanted to have that as a backstop in case any hiccups occurred along the way. And fortunately, they didn't. So everything ended up going by schedule. So Council President Smith-Waddell was asking a few questions about the auction. So I thought I'd start there just so to give folks an idea of kind of how this works or a reminder of how this works. So the auction itself is scheduled for 15 minutes. It started at 11 o'clock this morning. We had, I guess there were 9 bidders that were logged in. We actually had seven financial institutions that actually participated in the bidding process. That's a little bit more than we've had. The other piece is we had 29 actual bids throughout the entire auction. That's definitely sort of higher activity than we've had the last couple times around. The part on the right here is a rundown of each individual bid. I think it took as long for bidding to start as it took Mr. Harris and Councilor Bakay to read the title of the ordinance and the motions. So the actual auction itself, sort of took about as long. So it started at about 9.5 minutes after 11. We always sort of wonder who's going to be the first one to jump in the pool and actually put in a bid. But that process from there on out, after the first bid is made, sort of happens pretty quickly. So right off the bat, we had Key Bank was the first one in the pool at 2.13%. And then just a couple minutes later, PNC Bank jumped in with, more than a quarter point reduction in interest costs. And that's really what we're concentrating on. And the numbers that we see on the screen are those total interest costs. So that was the first lead change. Then we scroll down a little bit further. Janney Montgomery Scott put in a bid, and you'll see the bids in between there, so Wells Fargo in this area, if you're looking at they put in a bid of 2.47% when the auction was already at 1.85. So that's part of this, is that the bidders don't know what that low rate is. They know if they become the lowest bidder, but they don't know what that lowest bid is. And so some of the bidders come in and they sort of try to chip away. If you think of how eBay works, because I always describe this as eBay for municipal bonds, people are trying to win an eBay auction by a penny, and that's kind of the result here. They're trying to win by the very littlest amount that they possibly can. And when you're talking about interest rates that go out to 6 decimal places, you can win by a very little bit. Then the third lead change came. PNC Bank came back down below Janney Montgomery Scott, and then just a few minutes later, Janney put in there what ultimately was the winning bid. And you can see then below there, Key Bank tried 3 more times. They kept on incrementally reducing the rate that they were proposing, but ultimately Janney Montgomery Scott ended up being the ultimate winner of the auction. So just flipping over to the next, and Daryl has some of this stuff. This is like some of the summary info, and then there's more info that Daryl will go through. So the thing here is just This is just looking at the 7 bidders that we had in the auction. And what's shown in here is the best bid that they put in. So if you look at the third one there, KeyBank, they actually bid 11 times. Whereas this Mesero, which is ended up in 5th place, only bid 1 time. So they put in 1 bid and that was it. But if you look at the difference between Wells Fargo's lowest bid and Janney Montgomery Scott's lowest bid, there's about a $900,000 interest cost savings there just between those 2 bids. And that's really, the history that we've had with using this auction process, this online auction process dates back, in my experience here, to 2007. And when we have that kind of activity with 7 bidders and 29 bids, we can sit in front of you and say that we got the very best interest rate that we could on the day of the auction because we had that much competition throughout the process. So that's just sort of a reminder how the process works. I wanted to see if anybody had any questions or anything about that. Okay. So moving on, I'm going to let Daryl take over here and sort of talk about the 2 pieces. Strangely, we're going to start with Series B, and then we'll get more into the results of the auction and how they all play out together.
Good evening. And I want to echo Patrick's comments real quick about, again, thanking you for scheduling this second meeting. I think it was very important that we kept next week available, for an absolute needs basis. So thank you again. So Patrick talked about what was the larger bond issue auction we did today for the Series A notes. Because of tax law nuances that we won't get into, and to meet all of the objectives that we talked about when we met with Finance Committee back in July, there was also need to do a small borrowing of about $2.9 million as what we're calling the Series B taxable note. That needs to be taxable again for certain tax reasons. So kind of along the same line, but on the bank front, as we've done for you before, we went out to over 30 banks to solicit proposals for this $2.9 million loan with a 10-year term. Of those banks, 8 banks proposed, and we got 11 proposals. They're summarized here. The highlighted one, Citizens Northern Bank, came back with the best proposal at a fixed rate of 1.95%. Now, you do see Truist above that at 1.94, and you say, gee, why didn't we take that? Again, getting back to tax law, we do plan to come back to you next summer. There will be the ability to actually convert this taxable note to a tax-exempt note and get you a lower rate. And Citizens Northern agreed to that flexibility. So, and again, that's why we did what we did. That's why we did a bank loan, because we can easily go back to the bank and say, hey, offer us a tax-exempt rate. We're just going to save you more money here next summer. So, very straightforward. The Citizens Northern at 1.95% is clearly the best proposal for this taxable note. Okay, if you're looking at my paper that I handed out, page 3, I know there's a lot of numbers on here, but I think that most of them are important to kind of get, again, the whole picture of, we did the larger refinancings of your 2011 bonds and your 2015 bonds, and then we wanted to get to these, what we stressed when we met with you at Finance Committee, is these targeted objectives. You may or may not remember, we talked, if you would have done just the 2011 refinancing by yourself, most of the savings would have been in the sewer fund, and you'd have achieved or realized those savings over about 5 years. You want to get your savings sooner, kind of cash is king. So looking at the left, you saw this on 3 sheets of paper when we were at Finance. Honestly, I think this is a kind of a better summary presentation for you. And it's also important to understand that we do single bond issues for you. But we always have a general fund component, if you're financing those projects, a general fund component, a sewer fund component, and a water fund component. So I kind of pull that issue back apart, because you, the city, administration, and Vaughn want to obviously keep the integrity of the 3 funds. So this shows the integrity of all those funds. So the general fund is going to save about $1.5 million in 2021. And another $1.9 million in 2022. That was the target objective. You wanted to get, in the neighborhood of about $3 million of savings in those first 2 years. You're actually going to get, if you scroll over to the right, you're going to get about $3.4 million, that highlighted number. Now, with that restructuring component, yes, you will pay a little bit more over the next several years. And when we look at the graphs, you're going to see how that fits reasonably and manageably. In the sewer fund, you're going to realize $2.3 million of savings in 2021, another $1.8 million of savings in 22, and then another $600,000 in both 23 and 24. And then you're going to pay otherwise what you would have paid. In the water fund, you're going to save about $1,350,000 in 2021. You're going to pay back, I'll call it a little bit, about $200,000 in 2022. Again, that was to meet a targeted objective in 2021. And then over in column 5, that just aggregates the 3 funds together. I won't recite those numbers, you can see them. If you get on the bottom, you're going to save $7,120,000 across all of these funds. And that represents, as a percent of refunded principal, over 17%. That's just kind of unheard of. Patrick may talk about, kind of the other refinances we've done over the years. And the minimum threshold is always a concept of, if you can save 3%, it makes sense moving forward. Well, obviously, this is just a no-brainer. And it's just an eye-popping number based upon how low we know current interest rates are. I'll just touch on the highlighted numbers. So the box on the right is showing kind of those cumulative savings. So in the general fund, you're going to save a total of $3.4 million over 2 years, and again, you're going to pay some of that back. Net cash flow, you're going to save about $240,000. In the sewer fund, you're going to save $5,350,000 over the next 4 years cumulatively, and not pay any more. So you're going to kind of keep those savings, if you will. In the water fund, after 2 years, you're going to save $1,131,000, and again, keep those savings and maintain those savings over the entire life. Comparatively, when we were here in July, I know the calendar rolled. We did a lot of work. Patrick might have went on vacation. I think that always helps. But comparatively, the numbers, we talked about savings of $6.2 million in July, and you're going to achieve $7.1 million. So a great result. I'm very pleased with them. I believe you will be as well. Again, a lot of numbers. People always like pictures. And again, these are similar to what you saw before. On page 4 here, the general fund, the red lines being the existing debt service, kind of as you entered the room or as you started this morning. And the black lines or black bars are the resulting debt service after you realize those savings. So you're going to get your large $3.4 million of savings over the next 2 years. You're going to pay, over the next couple of years, about $125,000 more, manageable. And then in 2030, 31, 32, it's important here to visualize this, that even when we said the payments are going to go up by about $750,000 more than they would have been, you can see there's still a significant reduction that'll maintain your budget capacity and budget flexibility going forward, and maintain future capacity. In the sewer fund, pretty straightforward again. In 21 and 22, you're going to save that $4.1 million. You're going to save another $600,000 in 23 and 24, kind of knocking down that little spike you have. So that kind of works out well for going through future budgets. And there again, pay what you otherwise would have paid for the remaining term. And lastly, on water fund, you're going to, pay about $1,350,000 lower in 2021, pay that little blip extra of about $200,000 in 22, and pay what you otherwise would have paid. Those are the numbers. Those are the pictures. You can let me know which one you like better. But again, a great result for you. There are a couple more pages here of of way too many numbers. I just feel compelled as though I got to give them to you, but I'm going to stop there.
If I could just, on this water fund comparison, I just want to call out that part of the reason why things are so tight in the water fund is that we continue to throw off revenue from the water fund to the City of Lancaster's general fund. And so while it is revenue generating, it is also a burden on the water fund. And this is just to highlight again the dilemma that we have in terms of the financial sustainability of the city and the fact that we're trying to do all the things to keep our general fund operation and our regular operations going in addition to these utilities. So obviously that's very valuable to the general fund, but it also has ramifications for the water fund and just highlights again the structural deficit that we're facing.
So I'll wrap this up just by sort of going back to the auction slide here. And this really came out of a question that Vaughn asked me earlier after the auction was over. You know, the resulting interest rate just over 1.81%, and asked, you know, what our ones in prior bond issues have been. And I went back through a bunch of these, and that, I think, actually the highest rate that was proposed, which is 2.47, may have been the lowest, even if that were the winning bid, may have been the lowest interest rate that we've had on any bond issue that's outstanding. So that really is sort of a reflection of what Darrell was talking about just how low interest rates are right now and then how well this process ended up working out for us. So with that, unless there are any other questions, that is the end of the presentation. We wanted to get this moving quickly so that we didn't keep you here for long.
Thank you very much to both of you. I appreciate the both the numbers and the pictures, both very helpful. Council President?
Thank you. Questions from council? Questions from the public? Okay. Gentlemen, Vaughn, thank you. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. Sorry. Yes, Mr. President. We have on the table a motion to amend. So we need to approve that. We also need to approve the motion to approve the bill.
I see. So at the moment, we're voting on the motion to amend.
Yes.
That's what's on the table, yes.
All right. Please
Mr.
call
Roy?
that vote. Yep.
Aye. Ms. Baker?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell?
Aye. The motion has been amended. Do we need a separate motion?
Yes, we do.
Motion to approve Bill 18.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Council comments on the motion to approve the bill? Comments from the public on the motion to approve the bill? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Roya?
Aye.
Ms. Baker?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell?
Aye. All right, thank you all very much. There's nothing else on our agenda. So with that, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Well, I did see